Amanda,
Keith, how's it going?
it is going great. Have you ever been to the city that never sleeps?
I have. I thought it was Naptown. I live in it. No,
We
I
called it
have.
Indian No Place.
That's a joke amongst me and my friends. We like to say it's the city that never sleeps, Naptown. Um, but I have been to the real city that never sleeps. New York City, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, the coronavirus has killed Frank Sinatra's song. The town that never sleeps seems awful sleepy these days.
That's unfortunate. So you went out there last time we talked. You talked about
Yep.
your road trip out there. Now let's hear what you observed in the city that is sleeping.
Well, I told you about the hotel that had the little seals on the door to prove that the rooms were clean, and so we
Yeah.
went out the hotel. We left there about 6:15 in the morning, and we grabbed our sack breakfast because they don't have the continental breakfast anymore. So the sack breakfast was a hit. Other than there's no way I was going to eat that if I was going to be in New York City in a short order for a good meal. So I just took the water out of it and got myself ready for problems later.
Right on.
We had a 130-mile drive into New York City from Hazleton, and that traffic would be, I don't know if you've ever been on 465, say on a Sunday morning or early on a Saturday morning, but that's kind of how the traffic was on the way into New York City. It was pretty amazing. It was just very light traffic on a Saturday morning. We rolled into the city about 8:45 in the morning.
Wow. I
Yeah.
bet that hasn't happened in decades on decades on decades. Very
Yeah,
few traffic, very little traffic.
I can't imagine, maybe after 9/11 it might have been like that, where people were not wanting to go into New York City or something, but it was a peculiar situation, and we rolled right in with no real specific destination. I was more curious to observe the people and get a heart for the people of New York City. So it wasn't necessarily a touristy kind of trip. So it wasn't like we were going to the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty or anything like that. I just wanted to see what was going on in New York City.
Yeah, I can't imagine it was encouraging, but let's hear what you have to say.
Well, a good number of the lanes of traffic were converted as to extensions of the restaurants because there wasn't any traffic, and the restaurants had to do the social distancing, and so they had put chairs and a variety of things out in the lane closest to their restaurant and had little barriers to try to protect the citizens there. And so we got out there, and we found a place called the Galaxy Diner, and the Galaxy Diner was where we had breakfast, and it was multi-purpose for me because that sack breakfast proved to be a problem with that bottle of water. One of my great fears for New York City is never having a place to use the restroom because they're very protective of their restrooms. And it is absolutely the worst yet right now because of the rules that went into places. Evidently the restaurants and places don't necessarily have to have a public restroom. So that water sure caused a difference in my way of living pretty quickly. Before
Don't go into details. Don't go into details.
No, that's it. That's all you get, Amanda. Before we went to the Galaxy Diner, we went to a Starbucks, and that's always been one of my New York City tricks. If I knew to use a restroom, it was kind of like a pay toilet. You just go by a Starbucks and you could use their restroom. Well,
yeah,
the Starbucks had all left their restrooms closed, so I now had to use the restroom and had a full coffee for which I had no interest in. And so we had seen the Galaxy Diner in our first kind of few seconds into the city. So then we made our way back around over to it and parked for our breakfast. We ended up eating outside, not in one of the closed lanes, but just sitting outside. And I bet the table was maybe 3 feet across, maybe not even that. Yeah, maybe 3 feet across, a circular table, if I remember right. And my friend was about as large as me, and they had us sitting right next to each other. And so I moved my chair across from him, and the owner came up, and that was problematic for him because he had to um, make sure that we social distance from the table next to us, and pointed
Wow.
out that the local police were giving the restaurateurs challenges if people weren't appropriately spaced out. So felt bad for him, but I still didn't feel that friendly with my friends, so I stayed across the table for my breakfast. Um, we did some laps through the city because we just wanted to see different parts of the town, and there was just no traffic to do that. We were able to make it all the way down to the financial district, all the way back up to um, Central Park and around the Times Square area, and even made it back down towards the financial district one more time before we left town. And just quiet. There were very few people on the street. Probably 50% of the people on the street were wearing masks, and 50% weren't wearing masks.
Interesting.
My curiosity had more to do with those people that weren't on the streets. Like, had they left
Yeah.
town, or were they actually up in their small apartments? And I think it was a combination of both. But I sense there's a lot of people up in those high rises that are just living secluded lives up there, and that was kind of a sad thing to consider.
Yeah. As far
We
as, oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, like, as far as crowds go, how were, like, when you were required to social distance at that diner, were there other people eating there? Like, are people, if they are choosing to be out, are they out?
I think most of their outdoor tables had people at it,
Okay.
and but probably on a normal Saturday morning there might have been, I don't know, we might have seen 50 restaurants open for breakfast. I probably only saw 10 similar ones.
Wow.
So yeah, the places that I would have ordinarily maybe tried to go to, they weren't necessarily readily available. So yeah, it was interesting. Most of the people who were walking around that were older were pulling shopping carts to get maybe their grocery shopping done before maybe the crowds got out, maybe kind of a way of protecting themselves. That's kind
Yeah.
of the observation. Curiously, there were a lot of pot trucks, CBD lollipop trucks that I had never seen
Interesting.
before. They were mainly around the Times Square area. That was a curious thing. I don't know what that's all about. I assume it has to do probably with the upcoming maybe legalization of marijuana. I don't know if it's legal there or not, but
Huh.
there were a good number of those. They were very noticeable. We went, I think as we kind of made our laps around, we kind of saw everything we needed, except for I needed to get some New York City pizza, and there weren't a lot of pizza places that were even noticeably open, but I went to Little Italy for some pizza, and I don't know if you watched the One Bite Pizza review, but my pizza had a lot of flop. I was very
Oh
disappointed.
no. Oh no. Not the flop. Greasy
Yeah,
flop.
yeah, it was not a good situation. Sorry, I'd have given it a 3.5.
Oof.
Yeah, not a
Ouch.
place I would go back to, but we got that out of the way, and we made our way out of New York City and decided to stay on as much as possible off the interstates once we got out of there, and we pointed our direction towards Hershey, Pennsylvania. And have you been
Good
there before?
place. No, but I like what you brought back.
Yeah, the street lights are shaped like Hershey Kisses, and it's just a beautiful
Oh,
place.
cool.
Yeah, the Hershey store there is huge. They've got an amusement park. They've got a hotel, all kinds of cool things. It's a cool little place to go. You could get reservations to go into the candy store, and they had the reservations timed in a way that there was never a big crowd in there, and so they allowed you they had systems in place to social distance. They had the little guns to check your temperature, and
Yeah.
they had a Hershey did a really remarkable job of processing crowds in a seemingly safe way. Their amusement park was widely open, lots of cars in the parking lot and crowds over there. So that was really interesting. And then we jumped on the Lincoln Highway shortly outside of Harrisburg. Are you familiar with the Lincoln Highway?
No, I haven't spent much time in Pennsylvania.
The
If
Lincoln
I have,
Highway isn't.
yeah.
It's not Pennsylvania. It goes all the way across the United States. I think it was the first coast-to-coast highway. Yeah, I didn't know.
Way over my head.
Yeah, so we followed it towards Pittsburgh, and what we were wanting to do was to get to Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Do you know that name?
No.
Shanksville is where one of the 9/11 planes went down, and so we went and saw the 9/11 memorial there, which was really interesting. And I would highly encourage people. That's probably a 5-hour drive from Indianapolis over there. It's worthy of a good road trip.
Yeah.
And after Shanksville, we made a stop just to the west of Wheeling, Pennsylvania for the night, and then cruised back across Highway 40 back towards Indianapolis, and just had a pleasant drive back. But one of the noticeable things I thought was really interesting on the way back towards Indianapolis, and I didn't make a note of where it was, but there were 2 communities that had large billboards for help wanted for police officers, and they were offering starting salaries from, I think, $50,000 to $85,000. So you can see how some of the cultural things that have gone on in the United States have really affected the landscape, not only in New York City, but even along the countryside. So it's really an interesting time to be out traveling.
Well, thanks for doing that. Thanks for making the trip and for going out there. I know you had fun, but I've had a lot of fun listening to it.
Well, New York City is always a good place to go, and hopefully they will open that place up really soon. I think the opening of the communities will be a catalyst for the recovery of our economy and great opportunities across this great country. So I will be back in touch. I'm going to travel again shortly, so you'll have to keep your ears open, Amanda.
They're open. Well said,
right.
Keith. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.